Dr. Minji Park sat in the observation room of the Pacific Space Center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that floated in front of her. The numbers were wrong. They had been wrong for 3 days now, and each hour that passed made them worse. She ran the calculations again, hoping for a different result, but the computer confirmed what she already knew. Something massive was approaching Earth's solar system, and it was moving faster than anything she had ever seen. She pressed the emergency alert button on her console. Within minutes, Commander Ji-hoon Kim arrived at the observation deck. He was a tall man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had spent 20 years in Earth's planetary defense forces, rising through the ranks not because of political connections, but because he was simply the best at what he did. When Minji showed him the data, his expression remained calm, but she could see the tension in his jaw. "How long do we have?" Ji-hoon asked, studying the readings. "At their current speed, they will reach Jupiter in 6 hours," Minji replied. "Commander, these readings show at least 500 large objects. Each one is the size of a city." Ji-hoon nodded slowly. He had prepared for this moment his entire career, though part of him had hoped it would never come. Earth had been alone in the galaxy for so long that many people had stopped believing that other intelligent life existed. Now that belief was about to be shattered in the most violent way possible. He activated his communication device and sent out the emergency protocols. Within the hour, every major leader on Earth received the same message. Humanity was about to meet its neighbors, and they were not coming in peace. The Valdrek fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter with a flash of blue light that could be seen from Earth's orbital stations. 500 warships, each one bristling with weapons and shields, arranged themselves in a formation that had been perfected over centuries of conquest. On the bridge of the flagship, Emperor Thalan sat on his command throne and smiled. This would be conquest number 201, another primitive world to add to his empire. General Vorath stood beside the Emperor, reviewing the scans of Earth. "They have some orbital stations and a small fleet," he reported. "Nothing that poses a threat to us. Their technology appears to be at least 200 years behind ours." "Send them the standard ultimatum," Thalan commanded. "Give them one rotation of their planet to surrender. Make it clear what will happen if they refuse." The message was transmitted to Earth in multiple languages. The Valdrek had conquered so many worlds that their computers could translate almost any language within minutes. The message was simple and brutal. Surrender immediately and become subjects of the Valdrek Empire or be destroyed. There would be no negotiation. There would be no mercy. In the emergency command center deep beneath the mountains of Korea, Ji-hoon gathered Earth's Defense Council. Admiral Daeho Lee was there, a veteran of the orbital wars who had spent the last decade building Earth's space navy. Dr. Minji Park joined via hologram, along with dozens of other scientists, military commanders, and government leaders. "We have 24 hours, Ji-hoon said without preamble. "They have 500 warships. We have confirmed that each one carries enough firepower to destroy a continent. They are offering surrender or extinction." "What choice do we have?" one of the council members asked. "We cannot fight 500 ships." Admiral Daeho Lee leaned forward. "Show them the Mars data." Ji-hoon pressed a button and new information appeared on the screens around the room. 60 years ago, a mining expedition on Mars had discovered something buried beneath the red sand. It was a ship, ancient beyond measure, from a civilization that had died out millions of years before humanity had even discovered fire. The ship's technology was so advanced that humanity still did not fully understand it. But they had learned enough. For 6 decades, Earth had kept this discovery secret. They had reverse-engineered what they could. They had built new weapons based on principles that the rest of the galaxy had forgotten or never known. They had prepared for the day when humanity would no longer be alone in the universe. "We have 200 ships," Admiral Daeho said quietly, "but each one incorporates technology that no current civilization possesses. Our quantum disruption systems can disable any electronic system within range. Our railguns can punch through any known shield. Our phase shift drives allow our fighters to appear anywhere in a battle space without warning. But we have never tested them in real combat," another council member protested. "We have only run simulations." Ji-hoon looked around the room. "The Valdrek have conquered 200 star systems. They have enslaved trillions of beings. They believe we are primitive and helpless. That gives us an advantage." A young woman appeared on one of the screens. Yuna Choi was only 28 years old, but she was already a legend among Earth's fighter pilots. She had scored perfect marks in every simulation and training exercise. Now she spoke with quiet confidence. "Commander Kim, my squadron is ready. We have been training for this our entire lives. Give us the order and we will show these invaders what humanity can do." Ji-hoon made his decision. "We will send a diplomatic envoy to their flagship. We will pretend to negotiate. That will buy us time to position our forces. When the deadline expires, we will not surrender. We will fight. And we will show the galaxy that Earth is not defenseless," the council voted. It was unanimous. Humanity would stand and fight. Hyun Lee was chosen as the diplomatic envoy. He was a career diplomat who had negotiated dozens of complex treaties between Earth's nations. Now he would face a task far more difficult. He would board an alien warship and face an emperor who had never known defeat. His mission was simple: learn everything he could about the enemy while keeping them convinced that humanity might surrender. As Hyun's shuttle approached the Valdrek flagship, he looked back at Earth. The blue and green planet hung in space, peaceful and beautiful. Somewhere down there, millions of people were going about their lives, unaware that in 24 hours everything might change forever. He thought about his daughter, who was 7 years old. He had promised to take her to the museum this weekend. Now he wondered if he would ever see her again. But he pushed those thoughts aside. He had a job to do. The Valdrek flagship was enormous, larger than anything humanity had ever built. As Hyun's shuttle docked, he took a deep breath and prepared to face the enemy. Behind him, hidden in the darkness of space, Earth's fleet was moving into position. The countdown had begun. The inside of the Valdrek flagship was cold and metallic. Hyun Lee walked through corridors that seemed designed to intimidate, with high ceilings and walls covered in symbols of conquest. Valdrek soldiers lined the hallways, their armor gleaming under harsh lights. Each one stood at attention as he passed, their weapons held ready. They wanted him to feel small and powerless. Hun kept his face calm and his steps steady. 2 guards led him to the throne room. The doors opened to reveal a massive chamber filled with Valdrek officers and nobles. At the far end, sitting on a throne made of some dark metal, was Emperor Thalon. He was larger than Hyun had expected, with skin that shimmered like oil and eyes that glowed with an inner light. General Vorath stood beside the throne, his expression showing nothing but contempt. "So this is what humans look like," Thalon said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Small, weak. How did such a species ever leave their planet?" Hyun bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that cost him nothing. "Emperor Thalon, I come as a representative of Earth's government. We received your message and wish to discuss terms." Thalon laughed, and the sound was like metal scraping against stone. "Terms? There are no terms to discuss. You surrender completely or you die. Those are the only options I offer." "Surely there is room for negotiation," Hyun said carefully. "Earth has resources, knowledge. We could be valuable allies rather than subjects." General Vorath stepped forward. "You have nothing we want except your obedience. The Valdrek Empire has existed for 500 years. We have conquered 200 star systems. We have destroyed fleets 100 times larger than yours. Your tiny planet will take us less than an hour to subjugate once we begin our attack." Hyun kept his expression neutral, but inside his mind was working rapidly. He needed to keep them talking. Every minute he stayed here was another minute for Earth's forces to prepare. "Your empire is impressive," he said. "Perhaps you could tell me more about your conquests. Earth is new to galactic politics. We wish to understand our place in the universe." Thalon seemed pleased by this. Like many conquerors, he enjoyed talking about his victories. He gestured to a display that appeared in the air between them. It showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of star systems marked in red. "Each red star represents a world that belongs to me," Thalon explained. "The Valdrek Empire stretches across 20,000 light years. We have assimilated thousands of species. Some surrendered peacefully and were allowed to serve. Others resisted and were crushed. Their worlds are now graves, empty monuments to the price of defiance." Hyun studied the map carefully, memorizing everything he could. His neural implant was recording all of this information and transmitting it back to Earth through a quantum link that the Valdrek could not detect. Commander Ji-hoon and the Defense Council were seeing everything he saw, hearing everything he heard. "How do you maintain control over so many worlds?" Hyun asked, genuinely curious despite the circumstances. General Vorath answered this time. "Fear, overwhelming force. When a world sees what our weapons can do, they lose the will to fight. Watch," He activated another display. It showed a view of space outside the flagship. In the distance, Saturn's moons hung like jewels against the black. Forath gave a command and one of the Valdrek warships fired. A beam of red energy lanced across space and struck one of Saturn's smaller moons. The moon exploded in a flash of light and debris. That was a demonstration shot at 1/10 power, Forath said. Imagine what full power would do to one of your cities. Now imagine 500 ships firing at once. Your planet would crack open like an egg. Hyun forced himself to show fear. It was not difficult. What he had just witnessed was genuinely terrifying. But beneath the fear was something else. Anger. These beings had destroyed a moon just to make a point. How many worlds had they destroyed? How many innocent people had died to feed their empire? I understand, Hyun said quietly. Earth cannot stand against such power. Thalon nodded, satisfied. Good. You have 20 hours remaining. Return to your planet and tell your leaders to prepare for our arrival. We will establish military outposts on your major continents. Your industries will be converted to serve the Empire. Your people will work for us. In time, if you serve well, you may even be allowed some autonomy. But Earth will never be independent again. And if we refuse? Hyun asked, though he already knew the answer. Then we will demonstrate the full power of the Valdrek Empire. Thalon said coldly. We will destroy your cities one by one until you beg to surrender. And then we will accept that surrender and punish your species for wasting our time. The choice is yours, human. Hyun bowed again and turned to leave. As he walked back through the corridors toward his shuttle, his mind was racing. The quantum link carried his thoughts back to Earth. The Valdrek were arrogant. They had grown complacent after centuries of easy victories. They had not bothered to scan Earth's defenses carefully. They assumed that what they could see was all that existed. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on Earth, Commander Jahoon Kim studied the data that Hyun had gathered. The Valdrek weapons were powerful but crude. Their shields operated on frequencies that Earth's quantum disruptors could easily target. Their formation was standard, something from an old military textbook rather than adaptive tactics. They were not expecting a real fight. Admiral Daeho Lee pulled up a tactical display showing the positions of all Valdrek ships. They have arranged themselves in orbit around Jupiter. They think it gives them a commanding position. Actually, it makes them sitting targets. They are clustered too close together. Dr. Minji Park added her analysis. Their energy signatures suggest their power systems are centralized. If we can disrupt their main generators, their entire ship goes dark. They have not built in redundancy. Across Earth's solar system, humanity's hidden defenses came online. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids powered up their systems. Ships that had been hiding in the darkness behind planets and moons began moving into attack positions. The entire human fleet, 200 ships incorporating the most advanced technology ever created, prepared for battle. Yuna Choi sat in the cockpit of her fighter, running through her pre-flight checks for the 10th time. Around her, the rest of her squadron did the same. They were docked inside the carrier Dragon's Breath, which was positioned near Mars. When the order came, they would launch and hit the Valdrek fleet before the enemy even knew they were under attack. All pilots, this is Commander Kim. Jahoon's voice came through their headsets.
In 18 hours, we will engage the enemy.
They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender. They are wrong. You have trained your entire lives for this moment. Trust your training. Trust your equipment. Trust each other. And remember what we are fighting for. Every person on Earth is counting on us. Yuna felt her heart beating faster. Fear and excitement mixed together. She thought about her family and soul, her parents, her younger brother. They had no idea that in less than a day the sky might fill with fire. She would not let that happen. None of them would. Hyun Lee's shuttle docked at the orbital station above Earth. He stepped out, exhausted but focused. Commander Jahoon was waiting for him. Did you learn what we needed? Jahoon asked. Hyun nodded. Everything. They are powerful, but they are predictable, and they have no idea what we are capable of. Commander, they destroyed one of Saturn's moons just to frighten me. Jahoon's expression hardened. Then we will show them what it means to frighten humanity. Get some rest, Hyun. In a few hours, everything changes. The countdown continued. 18 hours until the deadline. 18 hours until humanity showed the galaxy what they were made of. The deadline passed at exactly 1400 hours Earth time. On the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Thalon waited for the message of surrender that never came. After 15 minutes of silence, he turned to General Vorath with an expression of cold fury. "They dare to defy us," Thalin said. "Destroy one of their cities. Make it visible from space. Let them see the price of their arrogance." The Valdrek fleet began moving toward Earth, their 500 ships advancing in perfect formation. They had done this countless times before. It was always the same. The primitive species would resist at first, then crumble when they saw the true power arrayed against them. Within hours, Earth's governments would be begging for mercy. General Vorath studied his tactical display. "I am detecting their fleet. 200 ships moving to intercept us near Mars orbit. Pathetic. Our ships outnumber them more than 2 to 1, and each of our vessels is superior in firepower." What Vorath could not see were the hidden weapons platforms scattered throughout the solar system. What his sensors could not detect were the quantum signatures of Earth's ships, carefully masked by technology that would not exist in the galaxy for another 1,000 years. What his arrogant mind could not imagine was that he was not the hunter. He was the prey. In the command center on Earth, Commander Ji-hoon Kim watched the Valdrek fleet approach. Beside him stood scientist Soo-jin Han, the woman who had spent 20 years developing the quantum disruption system. Her hands moved across holographic controls, making final adjustments to the weapon that would change everything. "Range in 5 minutes," Admiral Dae-ho Lee reported from his position on the flagship Indomitable. "All ships report ready. Weapons platforms are locked on target." "Waiting for your order, Commander." Ji-hoon took a breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's future. Success meant survival. Failure meant extinction. "All units, this is Commander Kim. You know the plan. Execute Operation Thunder." Soo-jin pressed a single button. The effect was instantaneous. Across the entire Valdrek fleet, every electronic system shut down simultaneously. Shields collapsed. Weapons went offline. Life support systems flickered and died. Engines that had been pushing the ships forward suddenly went silent. 500 warships, each one a masterpiece of Valdrek engineering, became nothing more than metal coffins drifting through space. On the flagship, General Vorath stared at his darkened control panels in disbelief. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting red shadows across the bridge. "What happened? Report!" His officers tried desperately to restart their systems, but nothing worked. Every circuit, every processor, every power conduit had been hit by a quantum pulse that tore apart the fundamental bonds holding their electronics together. It was like trying to restart a computer that had been melted from the inside. "All ships report total system failure," one officer managed to say, his voice shaking. "We are dead in space. We have no weapons, no shields, no engines." Emperor Thalin rose from his throne, his glowing eyes wide with shock. "This is impossible. No species has this technology." "Apparently one does," Vorath said grimly. Then Earth's fleet struck. Captain Tai-Yang Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching his tactical display with satisfaction. The Valdrek ships were helpless. They could not move. They could not fight back. They were perfect targets. "All ships open fire," he commanded. Earth's railguns were based on principles the ancient Mars ship had taught them. They accelerated projectiles to near light speed using gravitational manipulation rather than electromagnetic force. When the tungsten rounds hit the Valdrek ships, they went through the hulls like bullets through paper. No shield could stop them because the shields were not there anymore. The first volley destroyed 50 Valdrek ships in seconds. The second volley destroyed 50 more. The Valdrek crews, those who survived the initial impacts, tried desperately to evacuate, but their escape pods would not launch. Their airlocks would not open. They were trapped inside ships that were being torn apart around them. Yuna Choi launched from the Dragon's Breath along with her entire squadron. Her fighter was small and fast, equipped with a phase shift drive that let her appear anywhere within a 1,000-kilometer radius without traveling the space in between. It was technology that seemed like magic, even to the humans who had built it. She appeared inside the Valdrek formation, her fighter materializing between 2 enemy warships. Before they could even register her presence, she fired. Her weapons were plasma-based, burning at temperatures that could melt through any known material. The Valdrek ships, already crippled, had no defense. "Target destroyed," Yuna reported calmly. Moving to next coordinates, she phased out and reappeared near another cluster of enemy ships. Fire, phase, fire again. Her squadron followed the same pattern, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. each attack perfectly coordinated. The Valdrek could not track them, could not target them, could not stop them. In 47 minutes, 400 Valdrek ships were destroyed. The remaining 100 tried to retreat, their crews manually overriding damaged systems and desperately attempting to escape. But Admiral Deho had anticipated this. "Activate the orbital defense grid," he ordered. Throughout the solar system, weapons platforms that had been hidden inside asteroids and behind moons came online. Each one had been positioned years ago in preparation for this exact scenario. They had been dormant, their power signatures masked, invisible to any casual scan. Now they revealed themselves. The platforms opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams and kinetic rounds created a web of destruction that no ship could navigate. The retreating Valdrek vessels ran directly into this trap. Within minutes, 50 more ships were reduced to debris. Only 50 Valdrek ships remained, including the flagship. Emperor Thalan stood on his bridge, surrounded by emergency lighting and the sounds of his ship dying around him. His empire, built over 500 years, was being destroyed by a species he had considered primitive. "We must surrender," one of his officers said desperately. "We cannot fight them." Thalan wanted to refuse. His pride demanded that he fight to the last ship. But he was not a fool. He had not built an empire by throwing away lives for no reason. If there was a chance to survive, to rebuild, he had to take it. "Send a surrender signal," he said, each word like poison in his mouth. "All ships cease fire and await instructions." On Earth, Commander Jihoon received the surrender message. He could have ordered the complete destruction of the remaining Valdrek ships. Part of him wanted to. These beings had come to enslave his world. They had destroyed countless others. They deserved no mercy, but Jihoon was not a butcher. He was a soldier. There was a difference. "Cease fire," he ordered. "Marine units, prepare to board the flagship. I want Emperor Thalan alive. We have questions for him." Seokjin Park commanded Earth's elite Marines. He and his team approached the crippled Valdrek flagship in armored boarding craft. The Valdrek tried to resist when they cut through the hull, but human weapons were simply too advanced. Plasma rifles that could cut through Valdrek armor. Personal shields that could stop their primitive projectile weapons. Within an hour, the flagship was secured. Seokjin found Emperor Thalan on the bridge, standing alone among his dead and dying crew. The Emperor looked at the human Marine with something like respect. "You fight well," Thalan said. "I have underestimated you." "That was my mistake." "Yes, it was," Seokjin replied. He activated his communication link. "Commander Kim, the flagship is secure. The Emperor is our prisoner." While the Marines secured the Valdrek survivors, Intelligence Officer Jiwon Nam was already at work. She connected her equipment to the flagship's damaged computers and began downloading everything. The Valdrek database contained 500 years of Imperial history. Star maps, technology, records of conquered worlds, the locations of every Valdrek military installation. "Commander, you need to see this," Jiwon said, her voice tight with emotion. "The Valdrek Empire controls 200 star systems, but they rule through fear and brutality. The conquered populations are enslaved. They are worked to death. Entire species have been wiped out for resisting." Jihoon studied the data as it flooded in. Trillions of beings living under Valdrek oppression, worlds stripped of resources, cultures destroyed, and Earth had nearly become number 201. A decision formed in his mind. Humanity had been given a gift from the ancient ship on Mars. Advanced technology beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. They could use that gift to hide, to protect only themselves, to stay isolated and safe, for they could use it to change the galaxy. "Contact Admiral Deho," Jihoon said. "We are not finished yet." The 50 surviving Valdrek ships sat in orbit around Earth, surrounded by human vessels. Their crews had been removed and placed in detention facilities on the moon. Engineers from Earth were studying every centimeter of the captured ships, learning their technology, understanding their weaknesses. In a secure facility deep underground, Emperor Thalan sat in a cell designed to hold him. He had not spoken since his capture, maintaining a dignified silence. Commander Jihoon Kim entered the cell alone. He carried no weapons. He did not need them. Guards stood outside, ready to respond if needed, but Jihoon wanted this conversation to be private. "Your empire is finished," Jihoon said simply, sitting across from the former emperor. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your homeworld does not know what happened here because none of your ships escaped to warn them. You are alone." Thalan looked at him with those glowing eyes. Why am I still alive? Why did you not execute me? Because I have questions, Jihoon replied. How many species have you conquered? How many beings suffer under your rule? 200 star systems, Thalan said. Thousands of species. Trillions of individuals. They all serve the Empire now. Or they did when the Empire existed. They did not serve willingly. Does it matter? The strong rule. The weak serve. That is the natural order of the universe. Jihoon shook his head. No, that is the order you created. But it ends now. Thalan laughed bitterly. You think you can free them all? You have 200 ships. My empire has thousands scattered across the galaxy. Military bases. Colonial forces. Occupation armies. Even without the home fleet, they will fight you. And eventually they will overwhelm you. Perhaps, Jihoon said. But we have something your empire never had. We have information. Intelligence officer Jiwan Nam had spent 3 days extracting every piece of data from the Valdrek computers. She now knew the location of every Valdrek military base, every supply depot, every colonial governor. She knew which worlds had been conquered most recently, which populations were most likely to rebel if given the chance. She knew everything. We are not going to conquer your empire, Jihoon continued. We are going to liberate it. Every world you enslaved will be freed. Every species you subjugated will have the choice to govern themselves. And you are going to help us. Why would I help you destroy everything I built? Because if you do, I will allow you to live. You will be tried for your crimes, but you will live. If you refuse, I will execute you now and do it anyway. Your cooperation changes nothing except whether you see tomorrow. Choose. Thalan was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. What do you want to know? Over the next week, Earth prepared for something unprecedented in galactic history. They were going to take the offensive against an empire that spanned 200 star systems. It should have been impossible. It would have been impossible for any conventional military force. But Earth was not conventional. Admiral Daeho Lee assembled a strike force of 50 ships. Each one was equipped with the captured Valdrek faster-than-light drives, upgraded with human modifications that made them 3 times faster. Each ship carried quantum disruption weapons, railguns, phase shift fighters. And most importantly, each ship carried a message. Hyun Lee, the diplomat who had faced Emperor Thalan and survived, crafted the message carefully. It would be broadcast to every conquered world simultaneously, translated into thousands of languages. The message was simple. People of the galaxy, for 500 years, the Valdrek Empire has ruled through fear and violence. They told you that resistance was impossible. They were wrong. Earth has defeated the Valdrek home fleet. Their emperor is our prisoner. Their power is broken. We come not as new conquerors, but as liberators. Rise up, take back your worlds. Take back your freedom. We will help you. You are no longer alone. Dr. Minji Park had concerns about the plan. Commander, we are talking about 200 star systems. Even if every conquered world rebels, there will be chaos. Millions could die in the fighting. Millions are already dying under Valdrek rule, Jihoon replied. The data shows that. We cannot save everyone, but we can give them a chance to save themselves. Captain Taiyang Kang would command the strike force. His flagship, Indomitable, would lead the way to the Valdrek homeworld, 300 light-years from Earth. The journey would take 3 weeks using the upgraded FTL drives. Behind him would come the rest of the fleet, ready to face whatever resistance remained. Yuna Choi and her fighter squadron would go with them. She had been offered a chance to stay on Earth, to rest after the battle. She had refused. My place is with my squadron, she had said simply. This is not over yet. Scientist Sujin Han worked around the clock to produce enough quantum disruption devices for the strike force. Each ship would carry multiple units, enough to disable an entire planetary defense network. Engineer Boris Shin upgraded the phase shift drives, making them more reliable for the long journey ahead. Every person on Earth contributed something to the mission. The day before departure, Commander Jihoon addressed the strike force. 2,000 crew members stood at attention in the main hangar of the orbital shipyard. These were Earth's best. They had trained for years. They had won the first battle. Now they would finish what they started. You are about to embark on the most important mission in human history, Jihoon said. You will travel farther from Earth than any human has ever gone. You will face enemies who have been trained from birth to conquer and destroy. Some of you may not come home. But what you are doing matters. You are not just fighting for Earth. You are fighting for every being who has ever been enslaved by the Valdric. You are fighting to show the galaxy that tyranny can be defeated, that freedom is possible, that hope exists. I am proud of every one of you. Come home safe. The strike force departed the next morning. 50 ships accelerated away from Earth, their engines burning bright before they jumped to FTL. On Earth, billions of people watched them go, parents whose children were on those ships, spouses saying goodbye to partners, friends hoping to see friends again. The journey to the Valdric homeworld took exactly 22 days. Captain Taiyang maintained strict discipline during the voyage. Training exercises, equipment checks, combat simulations. The crew needed to stay sharp. When they arrived, they would be outnumbered by whatever home defense force the Valdric had maintained. The element of surprise was their only advantage. Intelligence officer Jiwan Nam spent the journey studying the Valdric homeworld. It was called Valdris Prime, a massive planet with 2 moons and a population of 15 billion. The Valdric had built it into a fortress. Orbital defense platforms surrounded it in 3 layers. A defense fleet of at least 200 ships guarded the approaches. Ground-based weapons could strike targets in orbit. Taking this planet would be the hardest thing humanity had ever attempted. But they had advantages. The Valdric did not know they were coming. No warning had reached Valdris Prime because no Valdric ship had escaped the Earth battle. The home defense forces were expecting a routine report from the invasion fleet, not an attacking enemy. Marine Commander Seok Jin Park trained his troops for planetary assault. If they could disable the orbital defenses, they would need to land and secure key government facilities. The Valdric Military Command, the Imperial Palace, the communication centers, they had to move fast before the Valdric could organize a proper defense. We are not going there to kill everyone, Seokjin told his Marines. We are going to remove the leadership and give the Valdric people a choice. Many of them are victims too. The Empire forced them into military service. Propaganda told them that conquest was glorious. Some will fight us to the death. Others might welcome liberation. Treat everyone as a potential enemy until proven otherwise, but do not assume everyone is guilty. The fleet emerged from FTL at the edge of the Valdris system. Alarms immediately sounded on every Valdric defense station. Unknown ships had appeared. Hostile vessels approaching. But before the defenders could respond, Su Jinhan activated the quantum disruption pulse. 300 orbital defense platforms went dark simultaneously. 200 Valdric warships lost power and drifted helplessly. Ground-based defense systems shut down. In less than 5 seconds, the most heavily defended planet in the Valdric Empire became defenseless. Captain Taeyang did not waste time. All ships commence bombardment of military targets only. Avoid civilian areas. We are not here to slaughter innocents. Earth's railguns began firing. Not at cities. Not at homes. At military bases. Weapons factories. Government buildings. The strikes were precise and devastating. The Valdric had ruled through overwhelming force for 5 centuries. Now they learned what it felt like to be on the receiving end. Yunli broadcast the liberation message across every frequency. Every screen on Valdris Prime suddenly showed a human face speaking words the Valdric had never expected to hear. Your empire is over. Your fleet is destroyed. Your emperor is captured. You have been defeated by a species you considered primitive, but we are not here to enslave you. We are here to offer you freedom. Lay down your weapons. Stop fighting. Join us in building a better galaxy, or continue to resist and face destruction. The choice is yours. On the surface of Valdris Prime, chaos erupted. The Valdric government building was a massive structure in the capital city of Valdris Prime. It had stood for 800 years, a symbol of imperial power and permanence. Marine Commander Seokjin Park led his troops through its halls, meeting scattered resistance from soldiers who refused to surrender. But most of the building's defenders had already laid down their weapons. The message had been clear. The Empire was finished. Fighting now meant dying for nothing. In the central command chamber, Seokjin found the Valdric High Council. 12 beings who had helped Emperor Thalin rule 200 star systems sat at a round table waiting. They had nowhere to run. Their ships were disabled. Their defenses were gone. They were at the mercy of a species they had intended to enslave just weeks ago. I am Commander Seokjin Park of Earth, he said through his translator. You are under arrest for crimes against sentient beings. You will be tried under laws that we will write together with the species you conquered. You will have the right to defend yourselves. But your days of power are over. One of the council members, an old Valdric with scars across his face, laughed bitterly. You think this ends the Empire? There are military forces scattered across 200 systems. Colonial governors with their own fleets. Warlords who will fight to keep their power. You cannot defeat them all. We do not need to defeat them all, Seokjin replied. We just need to give others the chance to defeat them. Across the galaxy on 200 conquered worlds, the message was being received. In factories where enslaved workers labored 18 hours a day, the message played on stolen screens. In mining colonies where entire species had been worked nearly to extinction, the words of hope spread like fire. In occupied cities where resistance movements had fought hopeless battles for generations, leaders suddenly saw a path to victory. The rebellions began within hours. On some worlds, the uprisings were peaceful. Valdric colonial governors simply surrendered when they saw what had happened to the homeworld. On other worlds, the fighting was brutal. Years of oppression exploded into violence as the conquered populations took revenge on their oppressors. Earth's fleet could not be everywhere at once. Admiral Daeho Lee made difficult decisions about where to send his 50 ships. He prioritized worlds where the fighting was worst, where the Valdric forces were largest, where civilian casualties would be highest without intervention. His ships appeared in system after system, disabling Valdric defenses, broadcasting messages of liberation, offering help to those who rose up against their oppressors. Captain Tai Yang. Kang took the Indomitable to a world called Threnix 4. The Valdric had conquered it 40 years ago and used it as a military training base. When the rebellion started, the Valdric garrison had responded by bombing civilian population centers. Thousands were dead. Thousands more would die unless someone stopped the massacre. The Indomitable arrived to find Valdric gunships strafing a city. Taeyang did not hesitate. His railguns fired and the gunships fell from the sky like broken toys. The Valdric ground forces tried to regroup, but human marines landed and cut them off. Within 6 hours, the Valdric garrison surrendered. The people of Threnix 4 were free for the first time in 40 years. Yuna Choi and her squadron jumped from system to system, providing support wherever it was needed most. Her fighters were fast enough to respond to emergencies across multiple light years. When a Valdric cruiser tried to escape with stolen wealth from a conquered world, Yuna intercepted it. When a colonial governor tried to use civilians as hostages, Yuna's squadron disabled his ship without harming the prisoners. She flew 16 missions in 10 days, barely sleeping, running on adrenaline and determination. Intelligence officer Ji Wan Nam coordinated the liberation efforts from the Indomitable. She had the most complete picture of the entire galaxy. She knew which worlds needed help first, which Valdric commanders might surrender peacefully, which situations were most dangerous. She worked 20-hour days making decisions that affected billions of lives. The responsibility was crushing, but she never wavered. Not all of the Valdric resisted. Many ordinary soldiers, conscripted into service and forced to fight for an empire they had never believed in, surrendered gratefully. Some even joined the liberation efforts, helping to free the worlds they had helped conquer. They provided intelligence about Valdric tactics and weaknesses. They testified about the crimes they had been forced to commit. They sought redemption for the role they had played in centuries of oppression. 3 weeks after the strike force left Earth, the Valdric Empire effectively ceased to exist. Of 200 conquered worlds, 150 had successfully liberated themselves. 40 more were in the process of overthrowing their Valdric overlords. The remaining 10 had Valdric warlords who still held power, but they were isolated and surrounded by hostile populations. It was only a matter of time. Commander Ji-hoon Kim traveled to Valdris Prime to oversee the transition. He brought with him a team of diplomats, legal experts, and administrators. Their job was to help the freed worlds establish new governments, to write laws that protected everyone, to create a system where conquest and oppression would never happen. Again, the first Galactic Council meeting was held in a simple building on Valdris Prime. Representatives from 70 liberated worlds attended, along with delegates from Earth. They sat together in a circular chamber, no one above anyone else, and began the difficult work of building something new. Diplomat Hyun Lee opened the meeting. "We are here because the Valdric Empire fell, but we are not here to build a new empire. Earth does not want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it. We propose the formation of the Terran Concordat, a voluntary alliance of free worlds. Each member governs themselves. Each member contributes to mutual defense. No one is forced to join. No one is forbidden from leaving. We offer our technology, our help, our friendship, but we do not offer domination. The debate lasted for 3 days. Some delegates argued that Earth should lead, since they had liberated everyone else. Others feared that any centralized power would eventually become tyrannical. Some wanted revenge against every Valdrek, including the innocent. Others wanted immediate forgiveness and unity. The arguments were passionate and sometimes angry, but they were free arguments. No emperor dictated the outcome. No empire enforced submission. In the end, they reached a consensus. The Terran Concordat would be established. Membership was voluntary. Each member world kept complete sovereignty. The Concordat would maintain a joint defense force to protect against future threats. Earth would share its advanced technology freely with all members. A court would be established to try war criminals from the old empire, with judges drawn from multiple species. Representatives would meet regularly to discuss common problems and coordinate solutions. Within 6 months, 150 former Valdrek worlds had joined the Concordat. More applied every week as their government stabilized. Earth scientists began sharing the technology they had learned from the ancient Mars ship. Quantum communication systems that allowed instant contact across the galaxy. Medical advances that could cure diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Agricultural techniques that could feed billions. Energy systems that were clean and nearly limitless. Dr. Minji Park established the Galactic University on Earth. Scientists and students from dozens of species came to learn and teach. Knowledge flowed freely. Ideas were shared without restriction. The university became a symbol of what the new galaxy could be, not a place where one species ruled others, but a place where everyone contributed to the common good. Yuna Choi became an instructor at the new Interstellar Flight Academy. She trained pilots from 12 different species, teaching them the tactics and techniques that had defeated the Valdrek. Her students called her the Ghost of Mars because of the way she had appeared and disappeared during the battles. She found that she enjoyed teaching more than fighting. The war was over. Now came the harder work of building peace. Emperor Thalan was tried for his crimes by a court of 15 judges representing 15 different species. The trial lasted 4 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Thousands of witnesses testified about the horrors of Valdrek rule, entire species that had been nearly exterminated. Worlds stripped bare of resources, generations born into slavery. The prosecution could have asked for execution. Instead, they asked for life imprisonment. Thalan would spend the rest of his days in a cell, alive to see the free galaxy he had tried to prevent. The judges agreed. Thalan was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of release. He was placed in a secure facility where he could harm no one. Some felt it was too merciful. Others felt it was exactly right. Justice, not revenge. Commander Ji-hoon Kim retired from military service after the formation of the Concordat. He had done what he set out to do. Earth was safe. The galaxy was free. He returned to his home in Korea and spent his time writing about the war, making sure that future generations would remember both the cost of freedom and the responsibility that came with power. Admiral Daeho Lee remained in command of Earth's fleet, which became the core of the Concordat's Joint Defense Force. He trained officers from other species, building a military that could protect everyone without threatening anyone.